Welcome back to part 3 of our database sequence here. We're working with a JDBC Enhanced class that I have written, I guess is the word. And in this one we go a little deeper. Not only do we do SQL statements, but we actually ask about metadata. And metadata is where it's basically data about data. And we ask the database, what tables do you have in your database? In database, what columns do you have for each particular table? And it also can be extended to do views, indexes, stored procedures, because those are different database objects that are also in the database. But we're only going to merely focus on tables. And what we're going to do in this program, as I kind of detail in the comments, is we're going to connect to the database. We're going to ask the database to identify all the tables in the database, print out all the table descriptions indicating what columns are present, execute a SQL for each table in the database, and print out the displays of the table contents. And if you wanted to run this at a command line and capture all the text that's written to the console, all you do is type Java, and it has to point to where you install the JDK. The name of the program, notice no extension, and a redirection symbol, test output.txt. And for those who've had my Unix class, or I should say our Unix class, you will recognize the redirection. So we go into the class level and we make sure we import the Java SQL and Java I/O, and the name of the class is JDBC Enhanced. And just like before, we have a connection object and we have a statement object, and we have to have a try-catch because the connection object and the statement object can throw back some exceptions that we need to monitor. So in here, the first thing we do is we load up the JDBC ODBC driver from Sun. This is, like I said before, it is like a pipe or wire connecting our program over to the database. The next thing we need to do is declare a string value of how to connect or where to find the database. And you should recognize the Java class DSN from our configuration we did in the previous example as well. And if this was a production database for a company that had locations throughout the world, you would see an IP address and a port number. We take that URL, we connect to the driver manager. The driver manager was loaded here. We get the connection, instantiate a connection object. And then once we have a connection object, we can send a particular statement over to the database. So we're also going to do something new called the database metadata object, and this gives us information about the data within the database. And we don't mean like physical data, but like about the table names and the column structures. And then right here we have a string array. And how do you know it's an array? And you are right, the square brackets right here, called stables, and we're saying we would like to get the table names. If I wanted other database objects such as views and indexes, I would put a entry comma, and I would put a second array element into the string table. And then what we do is we ask the database through the database metadata object right here, which was instantiated off of the connection, and we say get all the tables in your database, and we pass a null, and a percent means I want all of them. It doesn't mean if I just wanted the ones that begin with A, I would put A%, and then I pass in the table that will give me, I pass in the string array that indicates I want tables. And what we do is just remember, this is a result set, but it's a database metadata, so it's a little bit different. And then this one is a result set that actually contains the table names. So we process each record in this result set, and we call a method called giveTableDetails, and we pass in the table name, which is a string. So right here we say result set table, get me the information for this particular table. And if you remember in a previous example that I did, I use actual numbers like 1 for column 1, 2 for column 2. Here I can actually use the table name or the column. Then I close down the connection, and here's my generic exception handling. So if you ask yourself, where is most of the code for this program? You are correct in this giveTableDetails. I put it into the method not because I'm calling it multiple times, but because I wanted to keep all the code together. So let's go down and take a look at it. I put up to the screen that I'm processing this particular table. I build what we call the dynamic SQL select all from, and I take the table name that was passed in. That's why this code works for every table in the database. And I create another result set called result set table info, and you notice RS is the Hungarian notation for result set. And based off the statement that was declared at the class level, I execute the SQL statement that I just built here based off the passed in table name. And now this is something new. We have a new type of object, result set metadata. And this tells us about the information that was just put into the last executed result set. So you can see right here we have a result set, and then I say, hey, off that result set that you just gave me, get me the information. And this basically gives me the column names that can be found in the table that we just passed in. So we process all the column information here, and you can see that we start at 1, not 0, and we go less than or equal to the column count. Java, the creators of Java were a little inconsistent here. They start at 1 and go less than or equal to the number of column count, but arrays and string objects start at 0 and go less than the length. So just something to keep in mind. And then what we do is on the result set metadata, which we call RS metadata, we just put we call the dot get column label based off the first column, then the second and third, and we put that out to the screen. And we also build a column headings string that we're going to use to put the data out to the screen. So now we're putting out the data to the screen, we put out the headings, and we do what we did before. We process every single column that is in the result set. So up here returns back the column names and the type, and in this particular result set, which is just a regular result set, puts the actual data out for every record and every column out to the screen. And that's pretty much it. So let's watch this code execute. I'm going to compile it. And there we go. I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to compare and show you where things are coming from. So I'm going to scroll up, and you can see I'm putting out the column information. That code happens here, and we're processing the employee address table. Then I actually put out the column headings. Okay, and that would be this code right here. And then I actually put out each and every column for each and every row, and that's what this does. And then we come out of the method, and then our processing comes back up here, and we get the next table in the database, and we call the same method again. So let's bring that code up again, or output I should say. Here's the employee master, here's its 3 columns, 1, 2, 3. Here's its data, here are the column headings, and here's the data. And we have another table called log table, and it has 2 columns, and unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, we don't have any data in it. So that completes our JDBC Enhanced tutorial.